Have you ever paid attention to that voice inside your head? The one that comments on every step you take, judges your choices, revives old memories, and anticipates worries about things that haven't even happened yet? A voice that follows you all the time, like a silent shadow. Persistent, tireless. It tells you what to do, what to avoid, how to act, what to expect from others. It's so present that, because it's so common, you don't even notice it's there. And little by little, without questioning, you start to believe that this voice is you. But what if it's not? What if I told you that this constant flow of thoughts, these internal critiques, are not who you truly are? Think about it. From the moment you wake up, this voice is already active. Get up. You have 1,000 things to solve. You should have said something else yesterday. Look how ahead of you so-and-so is. You should be stronger, more productive, more this, less that. And it continues, from dawn until bedtime. An endless noise, like a radio in the background, that never turns off. Sometimes it shouts, other times it just whispers. It might even seem like it's encouraging you, but many times it plunges you into guilt, comparison, and frustration. Even when you try to turn off the noise by watching something, talking, meditating, it returns, camouflaged as worry or in the name of self-protection. But here's the question that could change everything. If it's you who hears this voice, then who is listening? If there's a part of you capable of noticing this mental flow, then that part is not the I thought itself, it's something beyond. Realizing this is the beginning of a great transformation. The simple act of observing your thoughts reveals that there is within you a deeper, quieter, truer consciousness. It's not just a pretty idea, it's a real turning point. Now imagine, for a moment, a space of total inner silence. No memories, no pressures, no judgments or expectations. Just you, clean, whole, without the weight of what others have said you should be, without the filters of past pains, without the masks you wear to be accepted. Just presence. Who are you in this place? This question isn't answered with words, but with feeling. It demands presence, not logic. Because it's in this space of silence and stillness that the true I begins to emerge. Not the I of social media, nor the roles you play, but the one who simply observes. The one who watches thoughts come and go like clouds passing in the sky. As Eckhart Tolle, one of the leading thinkers of modern consciousness, said, "The main cause of unhappiness is never the situation itself, but the thoughts we have about it." Have you ever stopped to observe that voice that lives inside your head? The one that comments on everything you do, judges your choices, revives old memories, and projects worries about the future? It's always there, like a silent shadow, persistent, never resting. This voice tells you what you should or shouldn't do, how you should behave, what to expect from others. It's always present, so present that you no longer even notice it. And little by little you start to believe that it is you, but what if it's not? What if this constant mental narrative, full of criticism, fears, and demands, isn't actually your true essence? Think about it. From the moment you wake up, it's already active. Get up. You have so much to do. You should have said something else yesterday. Look at how far ahead everyone else is. It never stops. From dawn until bedtime, this internal chatter goes on, like a radio playing in the background. Sometimes it shouts, sometimes it whispers, sometimes it seems to motivate you, other times it sinks you into guilt or comparison. And even when you try to silence it, by watching a movie, talking, meditating, it always returns, disguised as worry, as self-preservation. But here's the question that changes everything. If you are the one who hears this voice, then who is speaking? If there is something in you capable of observing the thoughts, then you are not the thoughts. This realization is the first opening. Because the simple act of noticing the mind shows that there is something deeper within you, a silent, real presence, observing without judgment. And this realization is not just philosophical, it's liberating. Now imagine, for a moment, a space of total inner silence. No memories, no demands, no judgments. Just you, in your purest form, free from what others have said you should be. without the filters of trauma or past experiences. Just presence. Who are you there? This isn't a question to be answered with logic, but felt with the heart. It is in this silence that your true self begins to emerge. Not the self of social media, or the roles you play, or the masks you wear to please others, but the self that observes all of this. The self that watches thoughts come and go like clouds in the sky. As Eckhart Tolle said, the main cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but the thoughts about it. These thoughts, this voice, are like lenses that distort the way you see yourself in the world. It wasn't born with you. It was built, layer by layer, with everything you've been told, with unprocessed experiences, with wounds poorly healed, and truths never questioned. Alan Watts would say that you might be trapped in a very well-constructed illusion. You are not the puppet of your thoughts. You are the stage where they manifest. This voice is not your enemy, but it's also not your master. It is a tool. The problem arises when we identify so much with it that we forget who we really are. Carl. Jung spoke of this in another way. For him, the human psyche holds not only consciousness but also the shadow, what is hidden, what we avoid seeing in ourselves. Often this voice comes exactly from that unintegrated part, fed by fear, trauma, and the need for control. It manifests as anxiety, self-criticism, perfectionism, insecurity. But what lies behind all of this? There is the consciousness that observes, the presence that embraces, the being that remains even when everything seems to fall apart. This is the true starting point, the beginning of a journey where you stop getting lost in the mind and begin to realize that it is just a part of your existence, not the whole. It's in this space between what you think and who you are that the awakening begins. Now pay attention. When anxiety overwhelms you, what truly causes your suffering? It's not what's happening on the outside. It's the interpretation your mind gives to what's happening. It's the voice that says, "This is going to be a disaster." And here comes an uncomfortable revelation. This voice is not there to guide you with wisdom. Most of the time it wants to keep you in control. It distorts reality, seeing everything through filters tainted by fear and limiting beliefs. And the more you believe in it, the further you get from who you truly are. Jung said that we need to integrate the shadow, to embrace those repressed parts of ourselves to become whole. The inner voice, this constant mental dialogue, is one of the most effective ways to keep our essence hidden. Now let me tell you something even more important. This voice, which often disguises itself as a counselor, may actually be your greatest enemy. It can paralyze you, sabotage your dreams, convince you that you're not enough. But what if, instead of fighting it, you could observe it? With attention, with awareness, and, with that, transform it. The choice is in your hands. Will you continue identifying with it, or will you learn to distance yourself? The great trap is believing that this voice is all that you are, and when that happens, you start living a role that isn't yours, an invisible script created by others. But you are so much more than any thought that may pass through your mind. You are not your thoughts. You are the consciousness that observes them. And this is the first step toward true freedom. Think for a moment. In the toughest moments of your life, wasn't it your mind that created most of the pain? It's these distorted ideas that fuel suffering. Thoughts like, "This will never get better," "I'm not enough," "I can't change." These phrases create stories in your mind, and these stories, even though they're illusory, deeply shape the way you see the world, the way you see yourself, and how you define yourself. But here's something you may have never stopped to consider. These stories are temporary. They are not the truth. They are merely reflections of your limiting beliefs. And here's the key. You are not these stories. They do not define you. You are the one who observes, the one who has the power to question, to distance yourself, to choose a new path, a new narrative for your life. Deep down, what really matters is not what you think, but what you choose to believe. You are not a slave to your mind. You are its master, and that is liberating. When you begin to realize that you can observe your thoughts instead of becoming entangled in them, you also begin to free yourself from the invisible prison you've created for yourself. You begin, finally, to take the reins of your life. As philosopher Alan Watts said, "You are not your mind. You are the observer of your mind." This simple shift in perspective changes everything. When you begin to see the mind as something you can observe, not something you have to obey, a new freedom is born. An inner freedom, where fears, anxieties, and worries lose the power they once had over you. And the question remains, are you ready to stop being a prisoner of your own mind and start living as the silent observer you've always been? Ancient traditions already knew this. In Buddhism, for example, there is an essential teaching. Suffering arises from attachment, not just to what is external, but especially to what is internal, our thoughts. The practice of meditation, as ancient as it is current, is a way of training this observation. Meditating is not about stopping thought. It's about learning to see thoughts pass by like clouds in the sky, without grasping, without identifying. And here's the good news. You don't need to be a monk. You don't need to isolate yourself in a temple. The true practice is in the small moments of life. All you need is to pause, breathe, observe. The next time a negative thought arises, something like, "I'm not capable," or "this is going to go wrong," stop. Take a moment and ask yourself, is this real, or is it just my mind repeating old patterns? This simple gesture is revolutionary. By taking that pause, you begin to dismantle the illusion, break the cycle. You start reconnecting with who you really are. Because the power has never been in the thoughts. The power has always been in your ability to observe them without getting lost in them. That's where freedom is born. Freedom to be who you truly are, not who your thoughts say you are. Remember this, you are not the voice. You are the one who listens to the voice. The moment you distance yourself from this inner voice, something powerful starts to happen. You take back control of your own life. True transformation happens when you stop identifying with the stories your mind repeats, with the narratives that shape your identity, and begin to live from a more authentic and deeper place. This is essentially the journey of self-awareness. Only when we realize we are not our thoughts can we break free from the chains they create. The author Eckhart Tolle calls this becoming the observer of the mind. He reminds us that by detaching from the internal narratives, we can access a space within us that is beyond pain and ego. It is in this state of presence, where there is clarity and tranquility, that we find our true power. And that's exactly what we seek. To be conscious of the now and realize that, despite the mind, we are so much more than it. Let's reflect together on how this mental voice can take over our lives, distort reality, and most importantly, how we can break this cycle. The first step is simple yet fundamental. Realize that this voice is not you. It's merely a reflection of your conditioned mind. And when you take a step back and simply observe, you create space for something new to emerge. Something more true, more aligned with who you really are. This is the key, the freedom to be yourself. When this understanding becomes real, a universe of new possibilities opens up before you. It's like awakening to a broader dimension of existence where the limitations that once seemed absolute start to lose their meaning. Let me tell you a story that may resonate with your own experience. There was a man named Rafael. To others, he had everything anyone could want: a good job, loyal friends, a present family. But every night, when silence filled the room, another reality unfolded. A voice appeared in his mind, insistent, casting doubts and insecurities. You're not good enough. You'll fail. You'll never be happy. These words, repeated so many times, became an invisible prison. Rafael believed them. He saw himself through this distorted lens, and every stumble in life seemed to confirm that he deserved nothing more than that. Until one day, he grew tired. He realized he could no longer live as a hostage to that inner conversation that robbed him of peace. He decided to seek answers. He studied, reflected, delved deep into himself, and then had a simple yet powerful revelation. That voice was not him. It was merely a reflection of old beliefs, the result of fears and unresolved experiences, an automatic mental pattern fueled by years of insecurity. And by choosing not to react to it anymore, Rafael began to change. He started to observe, without identifying, and little by little, the voice lost its power. It no longer held the same control. It was no longer law. And here's the turning point. The power is not in controlling the mind, but in not being dominated by it. The truth is that this voice only has the power you allow it to have. Rafael was not alone on this journey. We all, at some point in life, live with this inner voice. It can be our greatest critic, paralyzing us with doubts and fears, or it can transform into an ally, driving us toward growth and overcoming challenges. It all depends on how we choose to relate to it. The more space we give to this dominating voice, the less we hear our true self, the one that knows peace, the one that knows what is right, the one that doesn't need external validation to feel whole. When we manage to distance ourselves from this voice, we regain control over our choices. We begin to live more lightly, free from the chains of constant judgment. We then realize that we are much bigger than any negative thought that tries to convince us otherwise. And it's precisely in that silent space where the mind quiets down that we access our true strength. Real peace arises from within, from the moment we allow ourselves to be who we truly are, without the masks that limiting beliefs and mental conditioning try to impose on us. As Eckhart Tolle says, the present moment is the gateway to inner freedom. The present moment, free from the weight of past voices and anxieties about the future, is where the purest essence of our being resides. And it's in this state of presence, free from mental chatter, that we discover the depth of our own peace. Because in the end, true freedom doesn't come from trying to silence thoughts, but from learning to observe them consciously and wisely choosing which ones deserve our attention.